Hello. I want you just right now to remember this moment, like just to click kind of picture in your head right now, the way how you feel right now, the way how you see me. Okay, great, done, right? So filmmaking is made from so many things, from crazy people and at the same time normal people, weird people, films made of what? Interesting scripts, associations, and empathy. And empathy is the most important thing. Just 1 second. Sorry. Right now, this moment, did you feel a bit awkward for me? Or like weird? Or like strange? This is what empathy is. At that moment, when my papers fell down, you felt different, right? And that moment I became for you slightly more vulnerable than I was before. So now click picture again. The way how you feel right now, the way how you see me. I'm kind of become, I can't say I became your friend, for that I would need to maybe fall down and just, you know, roll over again. But I became more, maybe, I don't know, relatable? Because we always relate to the mistakes, to the weirdness, to the awkwardness. It can be also a great opening, maybe, scene for a film. Because at that moment of time, the character becomes known. We always know each other at these unusual moments. And this is what we will try to talk about, feelings. And we will try to talk about it because I don't know how to talk about feelings. I know how to feel. But to talk about it, it's something else, right? But at the same time, for me, films is about feelings. It's not what we show, but what we make each other feel. But at the same time, it's a very tricky field. Imagine, so you're on this set, and you're coming, let's say, as a director. And everyone is running around, you know, almost like the same thing. Someone is taking photos, someone is on a prompt, someone is on the sound, and sound always going wrong in the films and the events. It's a part of the show. And so you're coming, right? And in the middle of this madness. And you don't know what to do. And everyone is asking you questions, so which shot to take, how to take it. And you actually don't know the answer, not because you were not prepared. You didn't sleep at night because you were trying to figure out, you know, how will you behave. So what will you do? You will pretend, right? You'll pretend as if you know everything. It's like that moment when, let's say you're coming for the exam, and the professor is asking you a question, and you definitely don't know the answer. What are you usually doing? You are pretending. You're opening your mouth, you start saying something strange, and somehow the answer is actually coming to your head. As if at that moment of time, brain starts figure out the solution. And you just need to be confident, right? So this confidence is just helping you out to find the exit, right? Like right now, for example, I'm not sure what my next sentence is, and I need to use my hands and be confident, and meanwhile just to figure out the next sentence. And this actually also helps me in writing. When I need to feel for my characters, I need to feel for their journey, even if I really don't like them, objectively, as Dar, I don't like them. But then I have to pretend to like them. And in the process of this pretending, I start feeling something for them. I start finding their motivation and the reasons for their morality. When I was, I think, 12 years old, I had a fairy lady. Actually, I had a fairy lady for like maybe 10 years of my life, hopefully from birth. And she used to bring me like different gifts for my birthday and New Year and Christmas and for the day that I was misbehaving or behaving well. And at the age of 12, it's a weird age for that, I have figured out that maybe she doesn't exist. Usually people do it at the age of 5, but It was at the age of 12, so I decided to confront my mother. I just put on the table all the facts that, I figured out throughout the years, and I told her she doesn't exist. My mom said, no, she exists. So we went back and forth for hours and hours. This is how I remember that. And we were trying to persuade each other. And then at the end of the conversation, she said, okay, fine, she doesn't exist. It was me. I was like, yeah? She's like, this is what you want to hear, so hear it, but it's not true. And then I realized that it's always about our choice, what narrative to follow and what to believe. And I think around the same time, I started feeling these weird things in my, or experiencing this weird thing, when I kind of start seeing myself outside of my own body. As if you can just take yourself and just to put someone there, and you can see how you stand on the stage, how you use your hand up there, you can kind of see people, but you're not being exactly inside yourself. It's kind of like out-of-body experience, or when you're drunk, or where you're, something else. Let's do it. Right now, concentrate on yourself. And try to defocus your attention. Try not to hear me properly, not to see me properly. Try to dissolve in this room. Try to ignore the mobile phone that's reading in there. I think someone is falling asleep. It's fine. And now come back to yourself. Yep, to your real self. So these exercises helps me a lot kind of to look at myself as a character in the film. And everything simplifies. All my situations in let's say important exam you're having. And you're really scared because you didn't learn anything. Again, I don't know why I keep bringing this example. But you're able to detach yourself. You're entering the room, you look at the people, and this is your teachers or your professors. But then you detach yourself from there. And you look at them and you're like, yeah, this is the people who are supposed to hear because they're getting paid for that. Not that much, but it's their job. And everything kind of becomes more simple. And I love this experience, playing with different perspectives. When you can always choose how to react. Let's say with the person in the queue, someone steps on your leg, and that person itself or himself starts shouting at you. And it's kind of your choice how to react. You can shout back. You can pretend nothing happened. Yeah, I'm sorry. Why are you being sorry about he stepped on your leg? Or you can just fall down and you can have, foam around your mouth and to pretend that you have a seizure. Because it's just more fun. It's your choice how to behave, right? So same summer, when I was a child, remember it was, I guess, very happening summer, I had my grandmother's sister's husband. He was around 75, or somehow in my head he was always 75. And I didn't like him much. He didn't like me, definitely. He hated me. Because I used to steal some apples from his garden. And why to steal? And why children have so much obsession with stealing? You can just go and buy it yourself. Or just get it from somewhere, from your grandmother. So he didn't like me. But I remember this moment when I came to the roof, almost kind of attic of our farmhouse, and he was sitting there alone, being 75, or maybe now I'm thinking 35. And he was sitting in front of the TV. It was black and white, small TV, and he was eating. He didn't see me, and he was eating soup. And that moment, he was so innocent, so vulnerable, and I felt this wave of almost overwhelming feeling of empathy. With no words, there was kind of story that we were exchanging in his process of eating and in me looking at him. And that feeling, for me, traveled through time. I always remember that. And then I guess it traveled as an association, as a memory, and then it landed into the music video, which we used. Yeah, so you can see that. He's just eating. And he feels so isolated in comparison to other people who eat pizzas and you eat your sad soup. So for me, filmmaking has something very unique when you can combine so many different ways of storytelling, through your memories, through your associations, through things that bothers you or you hate and love. And it is a weird field, because you're creating a completely new world, imaginary world, and bring that world into your reality. But things that you share with people on the set is very important. I do believe that things that I feel during the shoot on the set somehow magically transmits into the screen, and then somehow my audience feels the same. Very often we forget that behind 1 second of the film, there are actually work of 50, 100, sometimes 500, I don't know, thousands of people who are working on the set, who's carrying different things, who come on the set to create your vision. I'm a director. Yeah, but your vision is just your idea, your imagination compared to my life. I have kids, I have family to take care of, and I'm coming here and I'm just holding the reflector. So, and there is a moment of, you see the people holding the reflector, let's see it again, for 45 minutes, just to recreate that 1 second of the shot which will go into the film. That's it. That shot. 45 minutes of just like this. And it's really important to feel for another person, to person who work with you, to take care of each other. Like, for example, spot boy. It's a technical job. It includes, bringing people this and that, taking care of them, helping them in something. But that spot boy's life at that second actually affects your film and affects the energy of your project. I don't know whether it's a film, I guess, whether it's a writing or a startup or any big idea. Because when you empathize with someone, that person will empathize with you. When you have empathy for people, they will have it towards your film. So in this case, somehow, their empathy nourishes your project, nourishes the film. And empathy has a huge power to create more empathy. And there are different ways to do it. Like, for example, you don't feel anything, but now? That's actually called, it's a physical empathy. When you can feel what other person is getting, let's say, hurt by, somatic empathy, and we're using it a lot in sound design. So actually it means that you are listening to me and you're feeling something. And what's important is that all of us, we have these rules of communications and the way how we behave, the way how we present ourselves. And it's so important, I feel, that for us to break out and to get out of that comfort zone and to show empathy towards other people, to feel them, to talk to them. And that's why the power of listening is kind of my little secret that I use to write a lot of scripts of mine, because that conversation with another person, and when you're actually listening to the person, not waiting for the person to just get over and to give your argument, but actually listening, seeing the way how they sit, how they talk, how they react, their, movements of their eyebrow, will tell you so much. Like, for example, just as an experiment, tomorrow, the day after, whenever, sit with your watchman of your building, of your campus, for 1 hour. And actually, just like put an alarm and sit for 1 hour and just listen to his stories. Don't tell him about how your exam was and how bored you are. Actually listen. The amount of stories, of details, of incredible stories you will hear will be just overwhelming. Or next time when your grandmother calls you and will ask you when are you getting married, or how was your exam, you ask her back, what was the most awkward day in your life? Or do you remember your first kiss? Something weird, so you can get a shock value. And then just hear her reply, and you will see, you will recognize so many new tonality in her voice, so many new, even sometimes actually vocabulary words that you haven't ever heard before. You haven't ever seen your grandmother from this perspective. Because we always look at each other to play certain roles. But what if we completely come out of the zone of the red circle and we'll just look at it differently? Like, you see that AC, the AC in the background, the two white soldiers standing there. You know that feeling when it's plus 35 or plus 40 degrees and there's AC and it's blowing the air, but somehow there is no coldness coming out. I mean, it's broken. It's useless. It happens very often, especially, I guess, in the auditorium during the exam. And this is how I sometimes feel towards my empathy, that, you know, I'm talking about it, I'm trying to feel it, and I feel so bad looking at my granduncle eating soup and almost, you know, like crying, trying to relate to him, but at the same time I will be shouting at a book shopkeeper who didn't allow me to take photo, or I will shout at a, I don't know, air hostess who didn't allow me to take my hand baggage and send it somewhere to the check-in baggage. So at that moment of time, I kind of, not being worried about another person, I'm not empathizing with another person, but I'm empathizing with myself. But what if, for a second, we become that person who is causing us certain feelings? Like, let's say you're getting a job, and you're coming for an interview, and you're getting rejection, and you feel so bad, so disturbed, because you feel really bad. I'm empathetic towards yourself. But what if we'll come out, and we will imagine ourselves being that boss? What he feels. Maybe he is not a confrontational person. Maybe he's introvert. Maybe he is not even allowed to hire anyone but with these and these and these qualities. You don't know, maybe he loves you, but he can't say anything because of, I don't know, his duties. Or remember those first days in the college when you're a freshman and, you know, you're just like bullied around, and your first thought, I'll never do to my freshmen. I'll remember these days and I'll change the system. I swear. Then cut to 4 years later, you're like, hey, you know, chalo, come. And you're like, idara, chal murga ban. What? What murga? Yeah, I thought you were, it's like, no, just do it. So it means that we just didn't remember those moments. But somehow I want to remind myself from time to time how to be that freshman, that AD on the set, that director who wants to do his first film and his next great edit. Because I just feel that 21st century, it's not just about, you know, being this charismatic, toxic, negative Dr. House who is criticizing everything and everyone, but it became cool to be empathetic. It became cool to relate to another person, because you know that together with another person who is different than you, who is maybe weird or unusual, you can create much more interesting stories than with usual people that you are seeing from childhood or your buddies. And for me, films are not just what you see, but what you feel on the set. And, you know, like right now, remember that exercise that we done at the beginning when you remember to feel, remember that moment? Now capture this moment. You know, how you feel different towards myself, towards me, towards yourself. Do you see the difference? Because I definitely can feel your relief, because it's almost the end of the speech. You know, so it means that I just made you feel something, which is also great. Whether it's bad or good, it's feeling. And to be honest, I do believe that that story about the fairy lady, that it exists. And it's because it makes me feel something. It makes me remember, and maybe just to be myself, hopefully. Thank you.